first item up would be inquiring as to late items. No late items, and that would be on a consensual adoption of the agenda. No delegations coming forward, bringing us down to the business portion, and there's just 2 items on there, and the first one will be a report on the community services grant applications. Director Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the community grant applications, myself, Councillor Plant, and Councillor Ryan reviewed the applications that we received for this year. The allocated budget was approved for $47,000. This included 2 separate areas: the general budget for $43,000, which includes the $2,000 for sports teams and $4,000 for the environmental initiatives. Our total request for this year was $62,750. The applications were grouped into 4 different categories, which included preferred support, support approved in principle, traditional support, and new requests. As part of the sports teams section of the policy, we still have $1,000 remaining for teams and or individuals who may qualify for potential funding until the remaining funding is done for this year. On top of that, as part of our recommendations that we're bringing forward, we have another $1,700 that is not allocated. As part of the approved recipients, we have included the request for the South Okanagan Community Foundation, and we should move forward with this request. I have attached a spreadsheet, and before us the options for council to review and discuss the applications and bring forward to the regular meeting of council for approval. There is some flexibility to discuss moving dollar amounts, and as with the total budget was not allocated, staff would like direction to move forward.
Okay. Councilor McCordock.
May I ask a question, please? In the new requests under International Curling Club, it says that there's an amount requested, and then there's a 2013 grant. Is that incorrect, or because it says new requests? Is that in fact, was that given last year?
For 2013, they received $1,000 as part of their grant. Yeah, for last year.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what that is for that line item.
Okay.
Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thanks. I wanted to just kind of open up and see if we could have some discussion about the one item with the Osoyoos Lake water quality request for a boat trailer. I've had a little bit of discussion with them, not through my own initiative, but they did call, and apparently they're, I'm not sure if this is a good choice of word, but I think they're kind of hurting a little bit financially. And the $5,000 request was to buy a boat trailer, and I understand that that was pretty close to the amount that they required to actually buy this trailer. And they also have some insurance requirements to go along with this type of thing as well. I'm not sure if that was outlined in the request or not. I have no idea, but I'm wondering if there might be some opportunity to maybe, rather than do the $4,000, to do the full $5,000 request on that.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes, and I have some input on that also. On that environment funding, it actually came from the Okanagan Basin Water Board, and this was the excess funds after the Water Board forum that they held in Osoyoos. So this was the profits, and it was actually quite substantial, that they shared with the town and the town of Orville, and helped their lake quality water monitoring testing move forward, because they didn't really have any funding down there. So we looked at this, and this money ended up into an environmental fund. And the Water Quality Society, they don't, I know how much money they have, and it's not a lot, and they don't have a lot of members. Although what they do, and if you look at the report that came from the provincial government, from the ministry, there's really the water quality sampling is a key part for the province. So we've got these folks, and yeah, they should have applied first and bought later. But in this case, they went out, and because of need, they had to get this boat out of the water, and they actually can do it through one of the towing companies. They can do it without actually having to get a license for it, because it's being towed under, it just moves twice a year into the water and out of the water. So they can actually save some money by not having to license it, because it's under the license of the towing company. So they had to move it, and the towing company in this case wouldn't tow it anymore. You know, they've been talking about how unsafe it was, and the fractured metal, and the structure was gone, and finally it was, no, we're not going to do this anymore. So they sort of got into a need of having to go ahead and get this boat trailer so they could get the pontoon boat out of the water. So having said that, the $1,000 shortcoming between ask and receive could put a little bit of a hurting on them, because they still do buy insurance. Of course, they buy liability insurance for the folks that are on the boat, and they buy for anything else that happens when they're out on the pontoon boat, and some fuel and some life jackets and some upgrades and things like that. So I think they're fairly tight on this, and so I'm sort of backing up where Councillor Rhodes was coming from on is there that, and you were right, it's very close. It was like $4,900. So if that was available, then they could sort of walk away rather than come back next year, because they're going to have to come back next year. And I thought one of our goals was to eliminate repeat applications that we're seeing coming. I thought that had been discussed by council. I may have that wrong. My statement. Over to Councillor Plant and Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there are probably several of those stories on here, to be honest with you. Many shortcomings when we talk about resources and what we're doing. So as you can see, there was $62,000 worth of requests, and we do have a limited budget as it comes to this. When we were looking at it as far as the environmental budget, which we already allocated would be $4,000, we gave that all to the water quality environmental. That was our thought. We knew that the importance of it, what they had done with the conference and those dollars that were coming in. So we were very conscious of that. And I think there is, and again, this would be something that can go back to the allocated balance, but what we wanted to do at the initial point was to get all of our numbers kind of solidified in there, and that environmental budget was kind of set at $4,000, so we gave them the $4,000, worked through the rest. But I think maybe with the unallocated balance that we have, there's something that we can do with that. But that's just where we were coming from as a committee when we looked at it. And maybe, Michael Ryan, do you have further to that? I thought that was kind of what we had discussed about the environment.
Exactly. Yeah, we sort of went through them and made the allocation, and then we did a tally at the end. But we did, as I recall, yeah, I am on, yeah. As I recall, we did sense that there was there were resources there that they could use to top that up, and another consideration is that we didn't. There was some I guess misconception about the property taxes, and realized after that there is a provision in there for property tax relief. And so we left the Elks out, for example, for that reason. But there, there's also, as you see from the 1700, there's still a bit of slack there for whatever we want. But yeah, we thought, okay, we're looking at it. It's clearly environmental, and the 4,000 is there. but I think it's really up to council. I certainly appreciate that. I'm one of the water quality testers and know the condition of that a lot has been spent on the boat and enhancing it, and this is a very important thing to have, a safe trailer to do, even though it's only a couple of times to transport it properly. So I think it's a matter of coming before council and saying, if you want to make some changes to this, why certainly that's appropriate.
Okay. So this would be coming back for approval at regular meeting. Is that today or more discussion or?
The request, I guess as part of the report, because originally we had put the South Okanagan Community Grant Foundation request as part of the grants.
Okay.
That our hope is that we bring it forward this afternoon.
Okay.
Just because we would like to support that group on the 9th for their opening.
Sure.
Okay. Yes.
And that was the timing, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also some issue to the allocation municipally, that we know if there may be a few $100s difference one way or the other when we actually get that full amount, to have some allocation in there at this point, because if it is a little bit more, then we would have some funding still in there to cover that. Yeah.
Okay. And I think going back to the Water Quality Society, I think they could make the year if they didn't get the 1,000, but then it's going to impact next year. And I think that was my sort of concern when I heard the story. Do you understand that to be so, Councillor Rhodes?
Yeah, I think that that's the way it is. The full request, or the full amount that they asked for, the $5,000, would certainly, sympathize their financial outlook over the next year and that kind of thing. And I'm sure they would be back again next year. However, I don't think we need to have a discussion about the importance of that group in this community. I mean, I'm hoping that's a foregone conclusion, what they do and, to better the quality of our water, basically. And I know they're struggling like so many other groups. It's all volunteer and that kind of thing. And I would, myself personally, and I think there was some support, maybe suggest that we do increase that to the 5,000 rather than debate it this afternoon. I don't know. I don't know what kind of process you'd like to follow with it, or.
We can bring it back this afternoon. You're good with it either way we go, whether we get that 1,000 or.
Yeah, I feel strongly that I'd like to see them get the full amount. The budget that's set out in front of us here certainly indicates that there is room to make that offer, I guess, and I'd like to see that full 5,000 allocated this year.
Okay.
Well, if council wants to move, just make a resolution now to make the change, and direct administration to make the change, and then we'll bring it back as a total package. If that's
okay, but we're not with a resolution.
Well, not a
direction.
but direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a vote anyway that so that if there is some non-agreement, it's
right.
Then it can go to further debate.
Okay. So that's okay with council, just on a straw vote. Certainly that would be the direction, and then we'll look at this afternoon. Now I have a couple of other questions on there. Integrated community service, this community kitchen program. Can I just have a refresher on that from either Director Davis or either one of the councillors? What was?
It's a program that it's Desert Sun, their official name, that they do for the community for the children, as listed in there. And they have done this in the past. The funding that they received last year was for the same type of program.
Right.
And it's actually for the children, a program that they run for that purpose. I can, if you give me 1 second, I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Okay, perfect. And again, I'm sorry, it's just an update. When we get a lot of the names and that coming through, I would just.
Especially when they change the name. And
right.
yeah.
So is it to feed, is its primary objective to feed the children or to teach them how to cook, or both?
Well, I think they're actually taking fresh foods, and they're preparing them. In some cases, they're freezing them, or they're cold packing them.
And this is for part of a program that they're.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
for families, and so there's a learning there as well as an outcome of actually having wholesome food that you
Okay.
take home with you.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So as part of the program, the community kitchen, it provides children are cared for when it is not appropriate for them to be with their mom and dad.
Okay.
While they participate in learning how to shop on a budget, how to make healthy meals on a small budget, and for program supplies, to provide for canning, preserving, dehydrating, and other necessary materials. And it's part of what they do for the community.
Okay, so this is both end. This is both the treatment of food and the actual end product of being able to feed them on some of their programs, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay?
Like I said, it was a similar program that they got grant funded for last year.
Certainly, certainly. Okay, then the next one I'd like to just have some comments on was, because I know that there will be certainly questions coming from the public, would be the pickleball club with a $10,000 ask and receiving no funding for that. We know that that's going to come back at us fairly quickly, and it's certainly gaining a lot of popularity in this town. So where are we aiming with to look at pickleball and funding? Is that back into budget situations, or how are we dealing with that? Director Davis first, I think.
I think originally our intentions were, because the current physical asset that we have, the old basketball courts by the tennis courts, is what they were looking at. For them to actually make changes, something like that, to come back to council for approval, especially going through our community services master plan, to make sure that that truly is something that will benefit the community as a whole. And not to say that we weren't in agreement with funding something for the pickleball, but I think it's all or nothing.
Right.
I don't think they can do as much or anything with a lesser amount,
Right.
and dedicating $10,000 might be a little bit more difficult to do, and trying to keep a balance with everything else in the terms of the requests.
And I think it's fair with the press here and being on Granicus to also state that it came late to deal with it outside of this grant program, and a $10,000 ask on a $40,000 pot of gold was fairly large, and we didn't get it in time to actually make it part of our budget deliberations, which would have been, well, actually, almost, the first one meeting, I believe, was in December, but certainly into that end of January, February decision-making, we didn't have the ask then, so it could have been looked at. So we probably will look at this for our next year's budget. Second question, that basketball court that's up there, non-used, how many courts would they get? A couple courts out there?
2 courts is what they had put on their
And that would fit with the existing fencing and everything?
No, their actual budget that we receive from them would include making some fencing, or including more fencing and installing a gate for access on the side where the dog park is.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no gate there now.
Okay. Councillor Plant, follow up on any of the pickleball?
No, actually, that was kind of where we thought. I think we all felt that it needed to come back into recreation, involved within our master plan as far as what we're doing right now, and that we bring it forward at budget time, where we thought it would be more of an appropriate spot to put that as far as the recreation services.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes?
Thanks again. Just going back to the community kitchen program, just wondering where the physical kitchen is, and if there's any sense of, are they all ASUIS participants, or
I'm not sure. I would hope so. The people who use the service locally would be mostly local people, and I'm pretty sure it's all local. They have their office just not far from the Sonora Center. They haven't used the Sonora Center kitchen for that purpose either, but it's a program that, like I said, that has been used in the past, and it is a very well needed program.
Councilor McCordoff?
Yeah, thank you. Looking at the pickleball issue, I think that seeing as we're doing the community services recreation master plan right now, that probably that's a better idea to have a look at that and see what the overall requests are and try and fit that in later. So I totally support leaving this at the moment.
Okay. Anything further on this issue? So this will be coming back this afternoon, and we'll see if we can get this passed this afternoon. So the Community Foundation has a feature on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock at Watermark. So both for the press and for Granicus, there's a meeting there with trying to move this South Okanagan Community Foundation forward. But when I throw that name out there, it really and truly is an Osuyas part of that organization that has Osuyas both as the benefactors and the people that are receiving the benefits. So it's a great organization, and anyone out there that is watching could certainly come out on this Wednesday night and get further depth on what the foundation does for small communities. Okay, Councilor Ryan.
Yes, I just wanted to add that their budget for the community kitchen indicates that they now operate only in Osuyas.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
even though the letters of support mention Oliver and Osuyas, but it's really only here now.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Okay. That item is closed. And into business 2, the Haynes Point boat launch. Item for discussion, and we started off, I guess, with contact to me and over to CAO Romanko for a report back, please.
Okay, yes, there was a flurry of emails last week about some threats about the closure of the Haynes Point boat launch. I talked to Mark Weston as early as this morning, and he said that he had discussions with the operator. The BC Parks will fix the boat launch this year. They'll continue to have that particular service. However, it is something that they have to sit down with their stakeholders and discuss the future of that particular boat launch. And I expressed to him the need to do that in the summertime or in fall, so that we don't have this spring. Every year we hear the same thing relative to but there's no it's very evident that boat launch needs, it's in a poor state of repair.
Oh, okay, so I think that we should be writing a letter, so should this come to a different meeting if we're taking action, I guess. But I'll finish my comment. So I think we should be writing a letter to the parks and to the provincial government, so we don't get one of those snap decisions where we don't even know they're having the discussion, and all of a sudden there's a decision made and we're on the outside looking in. I think it's very important that the town be an integral part of that dialogue, and the Okanagan Basin Water Board also. And I'd like them to be on part of that letter being CC'd, because if the milfoil harvester and rototiller, that's the only place they can launch. And if they can't get there, we lose the south side of Osuyas Lake for both rototilling and harvesting, because they can't get under the bridge anymore. So and the other ones are, it's a big piece of equipment for Sandy, you know, on driving it across sand. You're not, you're not gonna get it without that boat launch. So there's two, and it's very, very important to the town and all the local people that use that, you know, sort of a Soyuz's best kept secret, is that little boat launch when you, for the locals. So it's really crucial that that stay and that we be a part of the dialogue. And so I would really like to see direction to the administration that a letter be written and making sure we're included in the talks. That would be the first step. Council?
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I
That's
think,
the BC part.
yeah, we can add it to this afternoon's agenda for
Okay.
a specific
Okay.
resolution from council that a letter be sent for our
Sure,
future involvement.
sure, sure. Oh, that would be great. Okay, anything else from council? Motion to adjourn. Councilor Rhodes McCordoff, we're adjourned. Yep, see you, thanks.
Take care.
Yeah, do a